4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
This is your official invitation to the 2026 Married into Crazy Winter Ball and Marriage Conference.
February 6th and 7th, 2026 is a 2-day event. It's going to be a lot of fun. The theme for Friday night is denim, diamonds, and dancing. We have a great lineup for you, DJ Anointed, and also one of the original Chicago Steppers, Creed, is going to be there to teach the soul line dancing. It's
going to be a lot of fun, everybody. So we're going to feed you, we're going to dance, and set the night off leading into Saturday, which is going to be a great day of speakers. Mm-hmm. We have 10 times Grammy Award winning artist Joel Kibble as a special guest, and we've got some amazing speakers lined up along with him. Not only are we speaking, but we've got, I'm not even going to tell you. Go to the website, check it out. Go to marriedintocrazy.com, and you'll be able to click on Winter Ball and see all of the activities that are going to be taking place.
You don't want to miss this, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Get your tickets now. Early bird pricing goes all the way up through the middle of November. After that, all bets are off. You never know what we're going to do, but right now is your chance to get the early bird tickets. We want you to get the discount, but more than anything else, we want you there.
Be there.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
I'm Lovey. And we want to thank everybody for coming back to yet another episode. Mm-hmm. If this is your first time visiting and listening to or watching the Married into Crazy podcast, we're a couple that's been married for 28 plus years. And trust me, the plus matters.
I was making sure you were saying the right amount. It's 28. Yep.
28 years of her checking my math.
Always.
But we've been through some things. So what qualifies us to actually have a podcast and to do what we do and pouring into other couples? Well, A, we feel like veterans. We've been married 28 plus. Don't forget the plus. But on top of that, we have a few certifications. We're level 1, level 2, Gottman certified when it comes to couples therapy. Mm-hmm. Then we also have certifications as extreme execution coaches through Dr. Eric Thomas, and then several different DISC assessment certifications as well. Mm-hmm. So we roll all that up together with our platform, which is called Crazy, Being Married into Crazy, which stands for
Compassionate, Real, Accountable, Zealous, and Yielding.
And we can be more of that every single time. But we got together, even before we got married, it got crazy, right? Because I got stabbed through my heart by her ex-boyfriend.
I don't know why, but the way he says by her ex-boyfriend, like
it could have been my ex-boyfriend. It's
kind of accusatory. I'm just saying, it could have just been by someone. They don't need to know that.
Yeah, it's good. It makes the story. It really does. But that happened before we even said I do. Mm-hmm. And then, but we made it. As you can tell, I'm alive. Had 2 open heart surgeries, survived all that, said our blissful I do's. And then 4 years later,
I told him I wanted a divorce at our anniversary dinner at Morton's while he says he was eating some cream spinach. He doesn't even eat that, but he always says that, throws that in there. So I'll say it for him. It wasn't, we don't eat cream spinach.
We didn't bring the steak out. I had like cream spinach and baked potato. And anyway, see, 28 years of this banter. And, but because of that, we went through some stuff. We went through counseling, coaching, bought books. I'm not saying I ever read the books, but we bought them.
He didn't.
And we went through some stuff, but we ultimately came to the conclusion that we needed to become the couple that we needed during that period. And that's what started our journey. That's what brought us to the podcast. So we're like in 32 different countries, and we share and we talk to so many different individuals. We have a marriage conference that's coming up yet again in February, right? Mm-hmm. And that's going to be February 6th and 7th here in Sacramento. And you can go to marriedintocrazy.com and learn everything you need to know about our incredible guests. I guess now we can actually share who our headliner is. So we have a lot of great guests that are going to be participating. But if you've ever listened to the group Take 6, 10-time Grammy Award winning artist Joel Kibble will be one of our headline speakers. He'll be coming in to talk about his marriage and his divorce recovery coaching that he does, and not bringing old things into your new relationship. But we've got other people as well. Go to the website, check it out, and while you're there, look at all the different ways that we pour into marriages, that we lift up the covenant.
So yeah, just kind of a little piggyback on the conference. It was phenomenal when we had it in February, and again, it's coming up 4 more months. You don't want to miss it. We're going to have a great time. So,
yep, and early bird tickets are on sale right now, so make sure you get the lower price. We're trying to hook you up. Right. And while you're on the website checking that out, be sure to also look at the Married into Crazy app. You can get that either at Google Play or at the App Store for Apple. And that way, if you want to take coaching on the go, have it in your pocket. Take us wherever you go. Take us on vacation with you.
Please take us on vacation.
But look, you know what we do. Not only do we address a lot of different topics within marriage, we like to bring you subject matter experts. We also like to bring you other couples that have gone through some things that can share some of their nuggets. And today, I have to say, we've been in pursuit of this man for at least 2 years. We met at a marriage conference a couple of years ago, and we're really taken with him and his wife. And I have to just, you know what, I don't even want to belabor it any longer. If you would, please welcome Mr. Dennis Gaxiola.
Ooh, I'll make the noises.
I know, it's like I should, I think I got one of those applause things.
It's late, but it's good.
I apologize for taking so long to connect. But since we've tried, there's been so much going on, but God is good. And Lorna sends her apologies. She's dealing with some health challenges that cause her, it's part of her testimony. She takes a medicine that stops her from getting tumors because she's had cancer 5 times. Wow. But the downside of the medicine is very low hemoglobin, so she gets wiped out. So she sends her apologies, and then she says, you should have reminded me, so I took a long nap.
No worries. We're just happy you're here. Yeah. We really are.
And she's
honored to be here.
And for those of you that are like, you know what, that guy looks really familiar, there's a good reason why he looks familiar to you. So Dennis is a world-renowned comedian. And I got like a little bit of bio. I dug up some stuff on you, so I want to share just a little bit. You're like, oh God, what's he going to say?
We don't got pictures though, so you're safe.
Yeah.
Dennis is a clean stand-up comedian. Now, there's a difference. We all know comedy, but Dennis is unique in that he's actually a clean stand-up comic. He's an Air Force veteran and a preacher's son. So he's known for blending humor, faith, multicultural, because he's got a lot of people in the family as well that span a variety of different cultures. He's got African American, he's got Filipino, he's got Jewish, he's got a lot Hispanic. So it ranges, and he brings all that into comedy. But he's been in 20 national television broadcasts, including Comedy Central's Laugh-A-Palooza with Jamie Foxx, Gabriel Iglesias, many of you know him as Fluffy, presents Stand-Up Revolution, BET's Comic View, Showtime at the Apollo, and Martin Lawrence's First Amendment stand-up. One of the biggest things is that Dennis had like a show called the Dry Bar Comedy Specials that had over 150 million views.
Wow.
That's huge.
That's huge.
And we're blessed to have this man of God with us tonight to share a little bit about his story and his and Lorna's story and what they're all about when it comes to lifting up the covenant of marriage. So Dennis, again, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Honored to be here. Lorna and I, it's not that rare, but we kind of feel like marriage unicorns because we were divorced for 23 years and we just hit our 9th anniversary back together. And we're better than ever, and God has restored us to be able to go to marriage conferences. Who would have thought people that failed at marriage would go to marriage conferences? But that's the beauty of having a Christ-centered marriage. Versus a young guy that joined the military, and my military career was all that mattered. And God is good
all the time.
So,
So let's get into it. First and foremost, how old were you when you and Lorna got married originally?
I had just turned 21, and she was 19. So I became a husband, a father, and an airman in 1985. I went from being the carefree kid at around the church to I remember my uncle was the pastor and sat me down and said, "You're going from hoping you have enough money to go to a ball game to becoming a father, a husband." All so we were very young, and we made it to 7 years, 6 months. Talk about the 7 year itch. We were a statistic, and the failure on my part, it wasn't infidelity or abuse, it was priorities. I was career driven. I was airman of the year multiple years. I was Mr. Air Force, and one day when I came back from Desert Storm, she said, you're not married to me, you're married to the military." And you know, don't take counsel from the ungodly to the scripture. Well, her best friend at work who was having an affair was like, "You can leave him. You can do better." So, yeah, the marriage fell, and that blow sent me on a journey that I never imagined. But it led me to comedy, so there was some good out of it. But the healing, just like everything fell apart all of a sudden, the healing came all of a sudden because we had nothing to do with each other. And 23 years later, over the birth of a grandchild, we met up and we just talked about reconciliation.
So
Wow.
a 23-year gap. Well, first off, let me go back. You joined the Air Force in '85, got married, and all that,
Yep.
all three. Right? You hit the trifecta in '85,
Yep.
and I joined in '86. So we served around the same time.
Yeah.
And I was overseas in England, and I mean, I know what that life was like. Bases, especially during Desert Shield, Desert Storm, where bases would just get very bare because everybody was deployed in some way, shape, or form, depending upon where you were stationed. And I also know the kind of lifestyle, how hard it was on my compatriots that were married. That's a difficult lifestyle, even whether you've been in the game for a long time or newly married.
Yeah. I was too. I always say, that God knows what He did when He designed men and women, and a lot of women, or I'm going to put it on as men. We think we're good men, and we are. If we're providing for our family, providing for them, protecting them, and then for military guys serving our country. I was active in our church, but along that line, my marriage was in third or fourth place at best. So, I even when I'm at men's conferences or marriage conferences, I'll tell the men, I don't care if you're at church 7 days a week, you're out of line.
That's right.
That that beautiful woman that you hope to get a date with, and then she became your girlfriend, then your fiance, then you married her, and you forget to date her. What are you doing? She still needs to be your girlfriend. You still need to court her.
Yep.
Oh, that's huge. We've got a friend, and his wife unfortunately passed away from cancer several years ago, a number of years ago. And he always says, date your wife or somebody else will. And it's not always somebody. It could be something. It could be an activity. It could be a group. It could be a civic group. It could be the church. But I think you hit on a very important thing that there's a reason why God created that as the very first institution, right? Supposed to be prioritized. And some of us, unfortunately, I learned year 4, she wanted a divorce because I didn't make her a priority. And so there's a nugget there for everybody to actually listen to. So tell me, after that divorce, 7 years, in the marriage, and you said, but it led you to comedy. How did you go from Air Force? I believe you did 20 years, right?
Yes, I started. I started. My first date was at a comedy club after we divorced, and I had tasted comedy for a few months, and then I didn't. I was like, "Nah, I'm a Christian. I can't be going to nightclubs all the time." And then we divorced, and my first date was to a comedy club, and I was funnier than the first two comics. I just knew that, and I went to an open mic, and everybody in my unit knew that I would get off work and go do a show somewhere, and might be driving home 3 or 4 in the morning and grab a few hours sleep. But like all my appearances on BET, I was stationed in Sacramento, and people were like, "We thought you were a comedian." No, I'm I'm Air Force. I do comedy as for the kicks, but I remember running into Joe Torre when I was stationed in Korea. The host of Def Jam, Joe Torre. He knew me as a comic, and he's out there doing a USO show, and he's signing autographs. And I walk up to him in uniform, and the confused look on his face, because all he knew me was as a comedian. And we still laugh about that all these years later. That yeah, I had two lives. I had a double life going.
Well, almost triple. I mean, because look, I've seen Joe Torre. I've seen his sets live.
Yeah.
You and Joe could not be more diametrically opposed in the way that you approach comedy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, was your comedy always clean, or was it something that happened later?
No, I had to clean my act up because I got in. I was clean by comedy club standards, but not by Christian standards.
Got you.
Uh,
Okay.
and then when the birth of during my second marriage, my second son in that marriage, he was born with gastroschisis. His intestines were outside of his body, and I remember walking through the parking lot. They said they had to induce labor because he was fully exposed. They thought it was a little hernia, and they were monitoring. Then we go in for a checkup. It was, I think, every week she was going in at this point. And they said he's fully exposed. We need to induce labor. And walking through the parking lot of David Grant Medical Center at Travis Air Force Base, my father had just passed, and my dad was my hero. I would always call my dad if I needed prayer for something. And I went to call my dad. It's an emergency. Pastor's kids call dad before they pray. And I went to call dad, and that hit me like a brick upside the head. My dad was gone. So right there in the parking lot, I just said, Lord, I need you. And I heard it clear. Time for you to be the man of your own house. Mm-hmm. And I said the sinner's prayer right there in the parking lot. Forgive me, Lord. And I started serving the Lord. And I went, okay, comedy's done. Because I was headlining clubs at this point. I would do a week at a time in a comedy club. And now I'm like, how do I do that and represent who I am? So it was pretty quick where the Lord replaced that comedy with clean. Cause I would pray, Lord, I need clean jokes, and one thing led to another, and all of a sudden I wasn't in comedy clubs as much, and I was in churches, and that led me to going to Bible school, and the Lord had a different plan for me.
Isn't that funny? I mean, that's
what's up.
You tugged on my heart a little bit there, because I know that when we lost our son 2 years ago, the very first, other than just screaming out loud when we found out, the very first thing I wanted to do was call my dad. My dad had also passed. But that was my first inclination. I was like, I need to call my dad. And it was like, he's not here. And you said you prayed. I yelled a lot at God. So I don't know that I was praying. I didn't cuss, but
I'm pretty comfortable letting my feelings be clear to God. And I think I joke about it, but I mean, he's big enough to hold the sins of the world. He's big enough to take our feelings. Yeah. We put on airs. So, we play church too many times. We go from being angry than our Father. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
He's the originator of caller ID. He knows who's talking to.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, so I don't want to stay on the comedy too long, but in making that shift, and then, so Lorna knew you originally as that guy that was doing comedy on the side.
We've known each other since we were children.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So when I would appear on TV, and she's living in Hawaii with my sons, they'd go, Mom, Dad's on TV, and she didn't watch. So the first time she went to a church with me when we got remarried, and it was a Sunday morning, so I'm doing a few jokes and then sharing the word. The pastor's wife told her, wow, you're really supportive. You still laugh at all his jokes. And she said, I've never heard them. So
right.
Yeah, she was not a fan of my comedy when we got back together.
Interesting. That is so. But what was it like? So when you were around, like the Joe Torres, the Fluffies, the George Lopez's, there's a lifestyle. I've seen documentaries where there's a certain lifestyle that happens that people don't really realize, that comedians are like rock stars. I mean, you got groupies, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
How are you able to balance that with your new commitment to God?
I always, from the time that I recommitted my life to the Lord, I knew there was a difference. And even today, as a pastor, you're still a target. I mean, I travel the country still to perform, and when my wife can't go, I'm out there on my own. But I know what I lost the first time. For one, and for two, more than ever, realizing that I can't hide anything from my boss. He sees everything.
That's right.
And the awe of God has to become, has to be forefront in your marriage. Because I have dear friends that were raised by men that did not value marriage, and it cost them multiple marriages because they thought it was normal to have the side girlfriend. That's what my dad had, and it's like, where's your fear of the Lord?
Right.
I mean, before your wife even catches you, that God could see what you're doing. So that right there is a driving point. Once I committed my life to the Lord.
That's interesting. You just use a phrase, the fear of the Lord. Where is that? I've committed to reading Proverbs through October. I read a chapter a day. And for the first probably 10, 12 books or chapters within Proverbs, there's deep discussion about having a fear for the Lord. And it explains what that means. But to hear you say that, I'm like, ooh, okay, God's talking to me again.
It's the fear in the context of fear of the Lord. It's to be in awe of him, of who he is. So I'm actually preparing for a men's group ministry at our church, doing the Awe of God by John Bevere. And it will shake your faith in a good way. He was at a conference, and before they introduced him, it was nothing but talking, and it was in another country, and the amount of talking before worship started, and then when they prayed to start the service, nobody paid attention, and he went up there and he rebuked this church by the unction of the Holy Spirit. He rebuked them and said, where is your awe at the living God? And when he did it out of obedience, and people started weeping, and then a wind rushed through this arena. It was the presence of the Lord rushed through. And he said that, this happened in the 90s. And all these years later, people that were at that conference in Brazil go up to him and go, we were there, and we'll never forget the presence of the Lord when you preached about that. So yeah, it's something that's very powerful. And I got the Lord, and I got a strong Puerto Rican wife that calls me by my middle name. Calls me by my middle name when I'm acting up.
So we know that no matter where you are, if you're out shopping, when the street lights come home, you better, if you're not on a show, you better be on the porch.
She's she said something very poignant to me when we got married. I trust you till I can't. Which was very mature. And she has my passwords. There's nothing to hide. And I've been through, there's the look. I've been through relationships where it was just nothing but accusation, and that's a miserable life.
Right.
So to now be in a healthy relationship with a woman that loves the Lord, I'm blessed.
Yeah, that is a blessing. It's funny when you talk about like passwords and stuff. I get irritated because I'm like, if my phone rings, pick it up, answer it, do whatever you need to do, because I typically never have it. And he's like, your phone. I'm like, babe, it's right there. And some people kind of like, oh, you guys, the way we are with, I know everything. And if I ever find out something that I don't know, he's going to be living somewhere else. He already knows. He's been told.
No, I hid my burner. My burner phone. I keep it at my other house with my other family.
With your other family?
I do have a wife that understands that I travel. She knows that when I'm about to hit the road, I don't need to ask for intimacy. She says, "Do you need anything?" She makes it clear. But I got to find out what book she read, because she's not the same woman as when we were kids. So she knows, she loves being a wife. She loves being an old school homemaker that loves taking care of me. If I say I'm hungry, I'm going to make a sandwich. I almost have to fight to be able to make my own sandwich. She's like, "I've got you." But we're in a position which is rare for modern marriages now, because she's home permanently. She's on permanent disability, so she has that luxury of taking care of me versus having to go do 40 hours a week outside.
Right.
So you said she read a book.
Wow.
Can we get that
book?
book?
Are you serious right now?
Can we get the name of that book?
Really?
I'm like, you should be taking notes right now. I'm just.
Did you hear that part about the 40 hours she's home? You didn't hear that?
No,
that went over your head. Okay.
I'm a man.
Say that again, please, sir.
I do it jokingly when I talk about how women are smarter. They have instincts that we don't have, and all the women clap. But then I say, in return, let us win every once in a while. But there's not a realistic view from the modern woman on taking care of her man. You've got to. Reality is, we're sexual beings. And if you sit there holding out on your man because, I'm tired, I'm this, I'm that. Earlier we mentioned something about, something will date your wife. Something's going to date your man. And that's a reality. And why allow that to be an area of weakness?
That's true.
Hey, man.
I thought you was going to clap.
No.
Need the clap sound.
You needed an air horn on that one, but I'm a little late.
Okay. I need you to be on time.
No.
So
Go ahead.
I have a question. So we know part of your love story is the 23 years being apart, and then you reconcile. What was a key moment that brought you back together? I know you said after birth of your grandson, you all sat down and talked, but what was it about seeing her again, the reconnection that was like, wait a minute, we still got something going on here?
I've loved her since I was a little boy. And when my sister, because she stayed friends of the family, her sister's married to my brother. So even though we had nothing to do with each other, we're family, as far as the closeness of the family, the family. When my sister told me she heard that Lorna was going through a divorce, I didn't even think. I just said I'd take her back in a heartbeat. And I reached out to her. I had to look her up on social media and just sent her a message saying, I hope we could be comfortable around the birth of these babies, and enjoy them without, because there were times where she would send word if she was coming to California, please ask Dennis to stay away, because she didn't want conflict. She didn't want any fighting or anything like that. There was a lot of hurt. That marriage was not supposed to end. So now, fast forward, we're at 23 years apart. I just sent her that note saying, I hope we can be comfortable around these grandchildren. And when she came to visit the kids, humor will always be my defense mechanism. Playfully, I said, want to go to breakfast tomorrow? And my son was like, Dad, like, you basically tell me it's inappropriate, and Puerto Rican from Hawaii, living in Alabama. She had 3 accents at once, she had that Hawaiian pigeon, and she's like, sure, darling. And I almost backed out right there, because who the heck is darling? But she'd been in Alabama for 7 years. And we went to breakfast the next day. We met at my car, and my sisters were neighbors. And I had, at this point in life, I was living with my older sister. I was renting the room from them, and she stayed at my younger sister's house. So we met at my car. We go to breakfast, and humor being my weakness and my strength, we sit down and we're nervous as all get out, the two of us, because we had never been alone for 23 years. I said, you want to fight? That was my pickup line. You want to fight? He said, about what? And it was that poignant moment right there. It was such a God thing, because we realized we had nothing to fight about. And at that moment, we surrendered our hurts and we started talking about life and where we were. And she went back to Alabama. And the good thing was we communicated, long distance for the next 3 months. And she made another trip out to see the baby. And the second trip, the third trip, I should say, we eloped. But like, we're not telling anybody. She's like, I don't want attention. I don't want a wedding. I just want to get my life back.
Aww.
Yeah. So we went to Napa, and the rest is history.
Wow.
You used a phrase, and I'd like to visit that for a second. You said we surrendered our hurts. My mind it's like that spinning, like, you're on the computer.
Yeah.
How is surrendering your hurts, or is it different from forgiveness?
No, I think the surrendering the hurts takes it to another level, because you can forgive. Oh, Christian, I forgive you, but I won't forget. No, to heal in marriage, there has to be a point where, I say it during sermons, and I don't want to sound preachy here, but whatever binds you blinds you. So if you're tied to your past, if you're tied to that hurt, that's who you are. You're that hurt husband. You're that hurt wife. So we had to surrender that to the Lord. And people that don't have a relationship with Christ can't understand that. What do you mean surrender? It's more than forgiveness, because you have to let it go. To me, that's when I say surrender our hurts. We had to let it go in order to step into a new chapter.
That's right.
I love that. And I'm not one to put more things on your plate, but brother, I feel like there's a book in there for you to write. Because Gary Chapman wrote, everybody knows, the 5 love languages, but he also has a book on the language of saying I'm sorry. And I think it's a very interesting book. I think it's good. We've recommended it to a lot of the couples that we coached. But the concept of surrendering your hurts, I think, needs to be visited more by a lot of couples.
I think it's so applicable to marriage, because we were at a marriage conference in Roswell, New Mexico, and it was the first time Lorna ever shared publicly. And she shared her testimony, and we talked about our journey and reconciliation. And then I preached Sunday. I did that. We did that Saturday. I did comedy Friday. Did the panel Saturday when Lorna shared, and Sunday morning I called. It was either Saturday night or Sunday morning. I called all the couples up, and I said, "There's areas that we need to forgive." And this one couple, they were hilarious, because I went to pray with them. I said, "You guys have to forgive each other." And he looks at her and goes, "I forgive you." And she turns to him and goes, "Well, I forgive you." I said, wow, it went right over their heads. They didn't forgive each other. They left that conference the same. They were tied to whatever hurt that they had experienced, So it's whatever binds you blinds you. That applies to our walk with the Lord, past hurts, to be able to move into ministry. You two have endured the unthinkable, to lose a son. But then, as that heals, that will be a time, as you surrender that to the Lord, that will be another area of ministry. Because I know people that have not. They relived the death of their child and they're stuck right there. And I can't speak to that, because I haven't endured that. But I've endured. My old pastor in California, he would tell me, "You were equipped for hurt." And I was like, "Well, how did I win that?" And, but he said, "But God trusts you with that, where you're able to get up and you share." So I had to, or my sisters, both of them mentioned to me that it was amazing to them that I wasn't an alcoholic or a drug addict. everything I had been through with the failed relationships and losing kids and court battles. Um, I just had to let it go or I'd go crazy.
Wow. So the one you've touched upon it, but you haven't really gone there yet. And I'm just curious, how did you go from Air Force comedy, remarried, to your lifelong love, to prison ministry? How did prison ministry become part of your ministry, part of your calling?
Um, every area of my life that the devil wanted to take, to destroy, God uses it now. I was supposed to be aborted, so I kind of leaned to pro-life. I, I do pro-life events across the country now. My dad was saved in prison. Um, so he was a heroin addict that said, if you're real, change me. And the Lord instantly delivered him. So going into the prisons, um, it started off. I went to one of the prisons he was locked up in, CYA. I went up to Preston, Preston up in God. It's above Stockton. That foothills up there by towards Yosemite. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've driven past it.
Valley Springs.
yeah, that has the old castle. And when we went in there, the chaplain pointed to the old castle where what used to be the boys' home. It's a huge castle. He said, "That's where your dad was locked up." And I just started weeping as we're entering the prison because my dad already had passed, but it was such a full circle moment where he had been incarcerated here, and now I'm here to tell the young men there's a better way. Um, so that led to just a desire to go in because to see the impact of my father's testimony on those young men. Now to go into I've only been into one woman's prison, and that was tough. But boy, they appreciated it. But it was so much more emotional when you've seen because Texas don't do they don't do, oh, you've been in here long enough. I mean, there's grandmas that will die in there that have done 50, 60 years. That was a very tough prison to go into. But from San Quentin to Folsom to Pelican Bay to different other prisons in California, it's very, very. I always feel like I get more than what I give when I go in there. So, but it's a call on my life, but it's also a tip of the cap to my dad and his legacy because it was a big passion of his, prison.
That's huge. So let me. You have any questions? Because I have one.
Go ahead.
All right.
I'll ask Snooks.
So I'd love to know, like, based on everything that you guys have actually gone through, how has Lorna, her influence in your life, this the second phase, if you will, of your life, how has she impacted your humor and how you deliver? Is she part of the shtick? Do you bring the stuff that you guys endure on a daily basis or deal with and bring it in? And if you do, is she okay with that? Or are there times where, how does that work?
I was kind of going to.
She always she'll tell me, don't make me part of your jokes. But there's certain things that go in because they're just too funny to keep out. But the part I've learned to, for one, she sincerely makes me a better man. She makes me when we reconciled. She asked me for two things. She asked me for some time, and she said, "You were too busy with your Air Force career, and now you're busier. But I need to have some of your time." So we would make it where we'd go out, and we've got to get back to that. Since we moved to Vegas, we haven't had as much free time on our hands. But she asked me for some time, so we would do date. We have the luxury of being able to go out once a week on a date. And a date doesn't mean a fancy dinner. It means going into Napa for a sandwich because we lived, a half hour from Napa. Going to a matinee, just something. And she's tickled pink that I give her time. And then the second thing was we had stepchildren. We had children involved from my second marriage. And she said, "I'm not a stepmom, I'm a mom." And she had dealt with the stepchildren issues when my sons lived with her and then her second husband. It was bad. So she said, "I don't want to deal with that. So if the kids don't respect me as a mom, not a stepmom, it won't work." and my three youngest children love her, and they respect her, and they adore her. They see the difference between a godly woman and a woman that doesn't serve the Lord. So they have that kind of respect for Lorna.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's what's up. I like that, and I appreciate that. Not a stepmom, because there, especially, when people hear step, there's always that negative connotation about a step, whatever. If
Yeah.
I am willing to open my heart up and love the children, of course I want the same type of reciprocity, and I will want the parent to have my back with that too. So yeah,
The
I
only,
love that.
the only time I wouldn't step in was when she didn't want to be the enforcer, and I'm like, hey, wait, your mom. I had one daughter, and I'm like, no. Plus, I didn't know how to deal with the teenage girl, so I was like, no, you need to handle that. Um, so because we would bump heads on that right there. It's like, it's no. If I do it, then I'm the bad guy, and you get to be the sweet stepmom or the loving mom, not the stepmom. I said, so
Right.
if you're mom, you're the woman of this house, run it.
Run it.
Don't wait.
Right.
Don't wait to come home from a road trip to. Then when it came to the heavier discipline, she would turn it over to me. But they all respect her, and but more importantly, they love her. And then
That's
one
good.
one one Mother's Day, my daughter gave her. I don't want to exaggerate. I think it was 6 or 7 dozens of fancy roses. She
Oh,
lined the kitchen counter with a gift and a card by each bouquet of roses. And it's like, wow, but she really appreciated having a mom that loved the Lord and
right.
showed her how to be a godly woman.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Can I get 1 dozen roses?
Yeah.
I was wondering.
You're just being quiet.
I,
I'm
I
laid
said,
back.
can I get 1 dozen roses? You said, yeah.
You just over here.
Everybody heard it, so
I know, man.
it's too late. Never mind.
Your
You
daughter's
already said it.
set the bar kind of high.
Everyone heard it, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
let y'all know if I get those roses or not. So,
You know who has great flowers to anybody watching this, and they're very reasonable? Trader Joe's.
hmm,
They're cheaper than Costco, and you get some beautiful bouquets of flowers at Trader Joe's.
Really?
hmm.
Yes.
Okay, that's a nugget right
Those
there.
those hippies know how to do flowers.
Yeah, they do.
Look, we're not going to keep you much longer.
But I do want to ask. So, what advice would you give couples about maintaining their faith and humor through difficult times?
It's so important to worship together.
Mm.
We we have not every service. I don't want to act like I'm holier than thou, but there are at least every other service where we're holding hands during worship, and that's intentional. I
Hmm.
want the Lord in the middle of my marriage.
Right.
Um, and then men, be vulnerable enough to listen to your wife, because that machismo that we have is death to marriage. But then
That's right.
women, make your man a king. If he's not king at home, where can he? Especially men of color. If we're not honored at home, where are we going to be honored?
That's good.
That's a
And
word.
it's yeah, my wife honors me, and I know I have a queen. And she, uh, it's so funny to see who Lorna is now. That didn't happen overnight. We had to get to know each other. We
Yeah.
got married all of a sudden, 23, in our late 20s, divorcing, and then a 28-year-old man is not the same man at 51. If he is, he's got
Mm-mm.
something wrong.
Right. That part.
And the
Seriously.
woman, a woman, a mid 20-year-old woman is not the same as a 50-year-old woman.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So it was very pragmatic. It's like, I need to get to learn her, but I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
waste any time.
Mm.
So the first couple of years, we're learning each other,
Yeah.
uh, and because you grow. So
Hopefully.
Ho-
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
hopefully.
that's the challenge,
Yeah.
to grow with each. The best advice, and I got to take it. I ever heard was from Dr. Sam Huddleston right there in Sacramento. I asked him for a marriage counselor. I said, you know, you could, because she had wanted to go to marriage counseling just because we never did it as kids until it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me the name of a doctor, and he's a good friend. And he goes, we go to him every year. And I kind of looked at him funny. He said, I get my car tuned up every year. Why wouldn't I get my marriage tuned
That's
up
right.
every year?
That's right.
He said, most of the time we sit there and we just have, you know, a nice session with him. Then we go about our business. But it's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of self-analysis on my, so we need to get back on track just to make sure we're good, because now, as you know, pastors at this church, a new church, Oasis in Las Vegas, there's even more bullseyes on us. So
Mm-hmm.
just to be healthy, we got to make sure we go, and communication is the key.
That's right.
I mean, you're communicators, so having this, facilitating this is just something we didn't have 20, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, so it's so needed, because, and then the his, the hers, and the ours, because I think men do need to have men around them uh, to lift them up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then women need to have. I'm talking about Christian men and Christian women.
Right.
You know, I don't have that out here in Las Vegas, but I have a group of brothers from Sacramento to throughout the Bay Area that we would get together and golf. But there would be times we're at the golf course and we were just like iron sharpening iron out there the whole time, you know, encouraging each other, you know, bringing up a subject on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're golfing, talking about it, uncomfortable subjects are, you know, and it was good that, oh, I'm not the only one going through that.
Right.
You know,
That's important.
That's facts. You know, and that's because the enemy wants to isolate us. They wants us to
that's the
feel
word I just
isolated.
had in my head. Isolate. The enemy wants to isolate.
Yeah, it's fact. You know,
Yep.
this has been phenomenal. I for all the couples, all the individuals, anyone that's watching right now, you might want to go back, rewatch this, re-listen, take some notes, and then one of the beautiful things that Dennis talked about was being introspective, to really look inside and ask yourself, am I that person that he or she deserves? Am I being that person that God says I am?
Mm.
Or am I being that person that society, music, television, whatever pop culture is telling you? Or am I actually bending towards what they are saying that I am?
Mm-hmm.
I think the beauty of Dennis and Lorna is that they got to a certain point in their lives and they said, you know, I'm going to be who God says that I am. And they're able to be that for each other. And that's beautiful.
Yep.
It's, I think I said this in Lake Tahoe at the conference, where there's times where I know I'm ministering from hurt. Not hurt, not still hurt, but I'm at the point in life where I could go, young man, don't do that. I went there and it cost me a lot, you know, and that's the importance of brotherhood and sisterhood, that we can learn from each other. And, you know, I'll be 62 in December, and I'm embracing the idea that now I'm not a young man. I'm a man that young men should be able to look up to. You know, marriages, you know, the couples looking up to you guys. That's kind of cool that we made it to this point.
Right? I feel kind of OG-ish, you know?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I crack up with my sons make fun of me that I'm, you know, limping around. I go, I've been 30. You haven't been 60. You know?
Right. Right. That part.
You've
That's
got to
good.
get here. But with marriages, you know, what was the elderly couple that they were original parts of that?
The
You know,
Andersons.
The Andersons, yes.
I just sat next to them a couple of times this past year at the Lake Tahoe event, because I mean they've been through hell and back, but God has been the center and they made it.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. You know, a couple that's been married, was it 60 years?
60 something years.
That is wild.
Yeah.
You know, this just popped in my head, for the women out there. I think it applies to both, but especially for men. Affirmation. If you're not, that's the part of being helping your husband is to affirm him. And
Mm-hmm.
I was at an event right there in California, and Nikki Cruz, "Run Baby Run," crossing the switchblade, the famous New York gang member that has now preached to over 80 million people around the world, and he's in his 80s. And his wife grew up with my father, so they're family friends. And I sat between them after this service at a dinner, and mid conversation, as they're in their 80s, but their minds are sharp and they remember my entire family. She looks at him and says, "I'm so proud of you. 60 years of marriage, 60 years of ministry, and she's still, helping him adjust that crown. Like, I'm proud of you." Because he stopped mid sermon and addressed the ministers. Um, and it was such a powerful moment. But that every wife needs to be, you know, affirmed, and every husband needs to be affirmed.
Mm-hmm.
Polish each other's crowns. That's gonna be the name of my book. Polish your man's crown, polish your woman's crown.
That's
I
right.
love
I
that.
love that. Yep.
So tell our audience, like, so you're still doing comedy. You got your
Yeah.
ministry. How can people follow you and really try and really get involved or at least be aware of everything that you're doing?
Social media, comedian Dennis. The last name's hard. Gaxiola is hard, so I was lucky where I was able to lock in comedian Dennis. Monday, we'll be on national TV. Lorna's going to make her national TV debut on Daystar Ministry now. They're going to interview us. And that's the fulfillment of a prophecy over my life from my second marriage, where the marriage was falling apart. And I reached out to the mother of my enemy and said, "Keep your son away from my wife, or one of us is going to jail and one of us is going to the morgue." And as I was telling her this, and she said, I'm gonna disown my son. I warned him when I heard that she was married that I would disown him. And there's my son walking by. As I say, son, um, he, I told her, "Don't disown your son." And when I said that to her, the Spirit of God spoke to her and said, "My God just showed me that you will tell the world about healing in marriage." And Monday, 100 million people watch that show every day. 100 million people will hear us because that marriage came to an end. And talk about hard when you're just launching in ministry and you go through a divorce. The church
Yeah.
can turn the. Um, but the word of the Lord doesn't go unfulfilled, and we're going to tell the world about healing in marriage.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
God will lift up his mighty men and his mighty women
That's right.
amen.
in his time. In his time.
Amen.
So this will actually air 2 days after. This will be out next Wednesday. But
Okay.
for
We
those
can
of you
edit
out
that
there, it doesn't just stop at Daystar. Just on that particular episode, there's something else you're doing as well, right?
You got better memory than me. What do I got going on
No,
now?
well, you're doing Daystar, but I thought there was another interview that may
Oh
be
yeah,
airing in a
yeah.
couple of weeks.
So then we interview with Joni Lamb's Table Talk, and that's where she'll sit down. Women like to do that, the table talk and the red table. But we're gonna sit with her, and she does it for ministry. But they air it. They'll air that one in November on Daystar. So we're gonna both be on that show as well, talking about marriage, healing marriage, and ministry.
And now that you're pastoring over in Vegas, are you still in the circuit? Are you still getting out there and hitting the stages?
Yes. The cool thing is the pastor, my senior pastor out here. I never heard him preach because whenever I was with him, I did the preaching. I did the sharing the word, doing the comedy and sharing my testimony. So we have an orphanage in Africa. He travels a lot. So when he's not here, I make sure I lock down to be here. And so, but he said, in the meantime, support your family until the church grows to a point where the staff, because nobody's on salary. But God is moving. We've reached, in 5 months, we're over 200 people on Sunday now. So the people are coming. The Lord is moving.
Amen.
And But I'll always be that clown. I think when I have to put the mic down, one of my friends from the Air Force buddy called. I thought you retired from comedy by now. I was like, no, bro, I would do that till they bury me. I'm gonna make fun of you.
You can be buried with a mic in your hand.
You know it. So,
hey, look, Dennis, we appreciate you, man. We're so grateful, not just for you being on the show, but I consider you a friend. For somebody that we pick up the phone from time to time, and if you ever need us, you're in the area, let us know. And thank you for blessing this audience and sharing some of your nuggets. And please let Lorna know that we'll keep her in our prayers and that we missed her this evening, but I know that we'll see each other again soon.
Amen. I appreciate you and your patience with me and your friendship. And I'm going to try. I got to get on there because ministers have the habit of only going to things when they're working, when they're being part of a conference. But we'll try to get away and come to Sacramento so we can be fed. So we're going to look at that right there.
That sounds good. All right, brother.
The winter ball.
Look, and we're going to be in Vegas a couple of times, and God willing, maybe we can break bread together at some point.
Oh, definitely. All right, God bless. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
All right, and like we always say, until the next time,
be blessed.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Married Into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.